Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving deep into a truly profound Eastern spiritual concept, taking precepts as a practitioner during the White Era. We're going to unpack exactly how ancient spiritual philosophies view personal boundaries. And spoiler alert, they don't see them as heavy restrictions, but actually as the very foundation of true spiritual liberation. Okay, let's dive right into this. You've probably seen the lotus flower used a million times as the ultimate symbol of purity and spiritual cultivation. And there's a good reason for that. It literally grows out of the mud, yet its petals emerge completely unblemished by the dirt around it. And honestly, that is exactly what taking precepts is all about. It's about cultivating this pure state of mind and action, even when we are totally immersed in the messy, complicated realities of the everyday world. So here's our roadmap for today. We're going to quickly cover 1. The meaning of precepts, 2. The purpose of protection, 3. The 5 core precepts, 4. 4 levels of practice, and 5. The harmony of 3 religions. Let's get to it. Section 1. The meaning of precepts, demystifying Shila. So the traditional term here is Shila. Now, when most people hear the word precepts or, rules, they instantly think of heavy burdens, strict limitations, or being punished for doing something wrong. But the classical texts, like the Da Chi Du Lun, frame them in a completely different light. They say taking precepts simply means bringing normalcy into your daily practice. It's the conscious practice of stopping bad karma. Think about it. When we act out of greed, anger, or ignorance, we're actually acting way outside of our natural, pure state. Shila is just a return to baseline. It is literally hitting the reset button to avoid committing evil and restoring the natural order within yourself. Section 2. The purpose of protection. Boundaries, not burdens. Which brings up a great question. If our original nature is already pure, why do we even need these rules at all? And this brilliantly illustrates exactly why. The master uses this amazing analogy of train tracks. Think of a train. It's immensely powerful, right? It's capable of incredible speed and carrying massive loads, but only if it stays on the tracks. If it derails, well, that power becomes incredibly destructive. Precepts are those tracks. They aren't there to stop your train from moving. They're strictly there to ensure you reach your destination safely without causing a total catastrophe along the way. The source text gives us another really vivid analogy. Imagine you've got a massive pile of dirty clothes. If you just don't wash them, those stains simply remain. According to this spiritual tradition, you and I have accumulated karmic habits and tendencies over countless lifetimes. These ingrained habits are deeply embedded in our consciousness. You can't just wave a magic wand and wish them away. The precepts act as this cleansing process, a daily washing that slowly but surely teams those habits, scrubbing away the spiritual stains we've picked up along our journey. Moving right along to Section 3, the 5 core precepts, rules of karmic weight. Now, before we reveal the actual rules, I've got a question for you. What do you think is the absolute heaviest karma a person can commit, according to these teachings? Take a guess. Well, that brings us to the 5 foundational rules for lay practitioners, meaning people like us, living normal lives at home, not monks in a monastery. The 5 core precepts are no killing, no stealing, no sexual misconduct, no lying, and no intoxicants. The text are super clear here. Violating these traps an individual in an endless cycle of rebirth and suffering, but faithfully maintaining them, that builds your direct foundation for enlightenment. Let's break down the karmic logic behind each one. So, answering that question from a second ago, according to the Mahayana Diamond Sutra, killing, which actually includes the consumption of meat, is considered the absolute heaviest karma. The logic is built on this terrifying concept of endless karmic retaliation. It creates an infinite, unbreakable loop of a life for a life across thousands of lifetimes. So to break this cycle, practitioners must practice true compassion and absolutely abstain from killing. Next up, we have no stealing and no sexual misconduct. The text gets pretty serious here, explaining that taking what isn't given, even just a single penny, creates debts that must be repaid across 10,000 lifetimes. It literally anchors you to the material world. Similarly, sexual misconduct is described as the very root of continuous birth and death. By severing these behaviors, a practitioner is effectively cutting the thickest ropes of worldly entanglement that keep them bound to suffering. Finally, we have no lying and no intoxicants. Look, lying, spreading rumors, or speaking harshly, that just creates an endless cycle of conflict and attacks on your character. True speech is absolutely required for a peaceful existence. And intoxicants, they cloud and confuse that original pure mind we talked about. To achieve a sharp, peaceful, and wise intellect, you've got to cut out anything that dulls your spiritual awareness.
All right, Section 4. 4 levels of practice. Ascending the spiritual pyramid.
Because how and why you follow these precepts is honestly just as important as the act itself. It's not about blindly following a list. The texts outline 4 distinct levels of practice, essentially forming a spiritual pyramid. At the very bottom, people practice out of fear of punishment or maybe just to get some worldly praise. It's totally transactional. Level 2 is practicing to secure future wealth or good fortune in your next life. Still transactional, right? The 3rd level is a massive leap, practicing to escape worldly suffering entirely and reach the peace of nirvana. But the 4th, the absolute highest level, is the Bodhisattva path. Here, you aren't following the precepts for yourself at all. You follow them purely out of boundless compassion, to achieve enlightenment so that you can turn around and pull all other sentient beings up with you. That is the ultimate goal.
And that leads us to Section 5, Harmony of 3 Religions, a Unified Path. Now, what's really interesting here is how the White Era ideology synthesizes 3 massive Eastern traditions into one elegant practice. Look how perfectly these philosophies align. The Buddhist rules map directly to Taoist internal elements and Confucian social virtues. No killing maps straight to the Taoist element of wood and the Confucian virtue of benevolence. No stealing aligns with metal and righteousness. No sexual misconduct correlates with fire and propriety. No intoxicants is water and wisdom, and no lying grounds us in earth and sincerity. It is just such a brilliant holistic framework. The ultimate takeaway is that despite using completely different terminologies, whether you're talking about Buddhist karma, Taoist energy, or Confucian social harmony, all 3 point to one unified center. They are ultimately the exact same path. By observing these 5 precepts, you are simultaneously disciplining the physical body, focusing your internal energy, and restoring your original, unblemished purity. We've covered a ton of ground today, from the heavy karmic weight of our actions all the way up to the highest ideals of the Bodhisattva path. So I want to leave you with this final, somewhat provocative thought to reflect on. Look at your own life and the rules you've set for yourself. Is your morality based simply on avoiding punishment or chasing a reward? Or are you moving toward that highest level, a life driven by genuine universal compassion? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, keep reflecting, and I'll see you next time.